Alright, so I've got it mocked up on the frame right now. It's just sitting there. And it's centered where I want it to be. That the crankshaft is running in center of the frame. So now we just have to mark where we're going to put the bolt holes. Then tighten her down and we should be ready to see the condition of the engine. Being stability of these springs and the strength of these springs, I think this will be sufficient to hold the weight of the generator hanging off the back. Like I said, I may have to preload these front springs a bit to keep it somewhat level, but I think it will work. In reality, I probably should have gone and ran the engine supports lengthwise, which is how it is on the home light generator. But I thought I'd try it this way because it's using less stock, and also I didn't really want the bolts would be like right up here against the fan shroud, and I think that one over there, if I use the same bolt setup, would not even clear the shroud. So yeah, well, we'll see. As it sits right now, it supports the engine perfectly, but once it gets the added weight of the actual armature and everything and field coils on the back, then we'll see how that goes. But yeah, and this will be sitting up again somewhat how I have the home light. I'm gonna end up putting a set of wheels on one end of it and a block on the other end to support it. But yeah, time to mark out the holes and get her drilled and mounted, and then we will be back with trying to see what condition this engine is in. Alright, so the engine is now mounted securely. I needed to do a bit of persuading to get the second two bolts in, but that was because I kind of measured once and drilled once instead of measuring twice, and I was about 1/8 of an inch off on these two runners here, so they're a little bit like this, so I had to get the engine back in square so that we were sitting. This thing is 16 inches wide approximately, and I wanted the crankshaft sitting at 8 inches. But anyway, let's see if we can do this while holding the camera. Now that's me putting my full weight on it with one foot, and it doesn't seem to droop down too much. So I think with a little bit of preloading on these front two springs, we should be able to keep it fairly level, and that's if we need to do anything at all, because I know for sure that armature and field winding and the end bell from the generator definitely do not weigh 180 pounds. Well, I don't think they do, but yeah, I don't think they do. Anyway, now time to work on the engine. Now that we've got it securely bolted down, we can see if we can get this sucker to go. Alright, so we're beginning to sort of run out of daylight here, so first thing, we're going to see if we can check the spark. And the wonderful thing about these magnetos is you do not need any speed at all. As soon as it clicks, I don't know if you can see that. Maybe I should wait until we do run out of daylight. There, we saw it, I think. But we do have a healthy spark here, so that should not be a problem. Alright. Secondly, we're going to take a look at the carburetor. Well, the ball of the carburetor anyway. And this is a Bendix-Stromberg carburetor, which I have absolutely no idea of it. I'm trying to remember. I think the carburetor on the Jacob, no, I think that was a Tillotson. Anyway, I have never owned a Wisconsin engine. This is the first one I've owned. I don't think I have ever owned an engine as old as this one at all. Except perhaps maybe the home light over there, which that's a 2-cycle, and that's its own little beast in itself. So that's not anything comparable. But let's take a look inside the carburetor. And it's a little crusty. And that looks nice. It's a little crusty in there, but let's see, it looks like that little clip holds it in. Oh, that's a lot easier than having the float hanging underneath and pushing the needle up. A lot easier to get that out and service it. Oh, well, we got a little bit of varnish in the bottom of it. A little cracked and dried, but let's see if I can clean that out a little bit. But everything else looks fairly good. I don't have any carburetor cleaner on hand, but from as dry as that looks, yeah, that's just flaking off just by a little bit of scraping it with my fingers. So we should probably be able to brush all that crud right out of there and be good to go. Not sure if the jets are clean, but the feed hole right there looks like it's open, and we won't know until we try it, I suppose. Now, this probably should have been the first thing, but let's see if this, I have no idea if this thing even has oil in it, to be honest. Plug's loose. Well, that's a good sign. Well, better sign than it being rusted shut, but as I said, this does not look like it has many hours on it. And it's empty. I see a little bit of corrosion in there. Well, we'll see what happens. If it needs a rebuild, it'll need a rebuild regardless. But if it runs, it might be okay with a few oil changes. Like I said, the compression seems decent. But let's put some oil in it and get that carburetor cleaned up, which I'm going to do off camera. Because like I said, I'm just going to kind of brush it out with my finger and a brush and vacuum it out. Like I said, the fuel tank is clean, which we're going to have to bolt that back on. And as far as anything else, well, we got the air cleaner. I took that off over here. That's just an oil bath air cleaner. Nothing really to do about that, except put it back on. So, yeah. We'll be back after I get the carburetor cleaned out. Okay, so I pretty much just rubbed the inside of it, and all that crust just turned to dust, and I kind of blew it out with compressed air, and then tidied it up a bit with some denatured alcohol. And I did the same. It doesn't look that great. There's a little bit of corrosion on the top cover, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue at this point. I am planning on taking this entire thing and doing a complete teardown over the winter time, but I am more interested right now on seeing if it's a runner or if it's a dud. I really have absolutely no doubt that it is a runner, but I want to make sure before I decide to dive into it anymore. And like I said, I do have a gasket set for it, but that's it. If I need to get rings or bearings or anything else, I just want to see if it runs and how it sounds before I dive into it any further. I did kind of pooch up the gasket a little bit here, but like I said, I'm not too concerned about that because I can always make a new gasket. I'm not sure if that's even part of the gasket set, but I can always make one like I did for the Jacobsen. Whoops. We forgot something. A little clippy that holds the float in place. Well, not the float, but the pivot arm for the float. There we go. Well, anyway, you don't want to watch me screw, so I'll do that off camera. We'll get her filled up with oil, and then we'll put the gas tank on it and see if we have a flood or not. Alright, so we got the crankcase full of oil, and at the same time I made a mess and filled up the air filter with oil. It is an oil bath air filter. I filled it to the line. I'm assuming that is what it is supposed to be since the label is worn off. Anyway, operating instructions. Not sure if you're going to be able to read that or not. Probably not. Fill crankcase to the level of oil filter plug, or oil filler plug, with good, clean gas engine oil. For temperatures of 40 above, use SAE 30 oil. For temperatures of 10 degrees to 40 degrees, use SAE 20 oil. For colder weather, use SAE 10 oil. Fill gas tank, fuel tank with good, clean gasoline of an octane rating of 67 or over. Well, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And then it gives the starting and stopping instructions. Care improves service, reduces repairs. Yes, that is true. Anyway, what we're going to do is take the fuel tank, which I set somewhere over at the bottom of the stairs, actually, and we're going to put a little fuel in it, slosh it around, dump it out to clean out any nasties that are in there, and bolt it on, put some fresh fuel on, and and see what happens. We'll be back. Alright, and it is dark. We've got a little bit of fuel in the tank, not much, because well, there is always the possibility that if it does start, it won't stop. So I have had that happen before. If I could get the flashlight to stay still. We'll open the fuel. valve, and the bowl is filling with fuel. Good. A little bit of floaters, and fuel is leaking out of the bowl, meaning the gasket is bad. Or just the bowl is loose. Yeah, it looks like just the bowl was loose. Should have checked that first. Well, don't see anything leaking out the carburetor. That's a good thing. But that doesn't mean anything is getting to the carburetor. At least it's not leaking out of the fuel bowl anymore. Still nothing coming out of the carburetor. As I said, that's a good thing. Anyway, let's put the choke on and see if we can give it a turn. Choke is on, I believe. And I don't know if we're gonna... Should have brought the tripod out here. Anyway, you can sort of see it. It said we're running out of daylight. Where'd I put the cord? Oh, here it is. Sorry. Flashlight on there too. That's not going to help any. It might help me some, but alright. Alright, choke is on, throttle's low. Let's see what happens. Probably nothing. I don't know if that was a fire or not. Let's bump up the throttle a little bit here, a little bit more. Don't let it completely shut. Oh! Apparently I had the choke off. Alrighty. Let's try that again. Bump the throttle up a bit. Now it probably won't start again. Maybe I did have the choke on. I'm not sure which way is which. Oops. Didn't let it warm up. Let's see if we can get it going again. I apologize, there's no light in this at all. right as my flashlight dies. She runs great. A little bit of smoke, probably just from some old crud burning off, but yeah, sounds great. And no leaks that I can see. I think that was just from when I made a mess with the oil. I'm not sure, I have to check that. I didn't think to check to see if the drain plug was tight or not. Probably should have done that. Anyway, yeah. So we'll do another run of her when it's actually daylight and you can actually see. So yeah, there we go. Wisconsin ABS engine running. Thanks for watching.